been running businesses up to about 24 mil in terms of turnover. So I've had 2 MD roles at BMG Music. That's not BMG, that's now in Sony over there. It's the same company, but I was working internationally in markets like Indonesia and Malaysia as the one non-local going in and changing companies and building things from scratch. So my experience is startup, it's rapid growth, it's business transformation, it's lots and lots of change. For the last 5 years, I've been SVP of digital music at We7. We7 is a music streaming site that recently got bought by Tesco's. Very much, if you don't know it, it's a streaming site for the mass market, so the people that listen to music for 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time. It's not for the heavy user that tend to gravitate towards a Spotify. So it's a free music site funded by advertising. We've been there for 5 years, and at our peak we had 3 million UK users. So it's amazing how many people show me business plans that start off with, I've got this wonderful piece of technology, I'm going to do this, it's a whiz, it's got a bang, it's absolutely brilliant. And then when you get down to who are you going to sell it to, or who's going to be interested, or who's the customer, it all gets a bit woolly. And you know, new ideas are 10 and plenty actually. There's some brilliant new ideas that are going to come from people in this room. But knowing who your customer is a business discipline that very many people fail to miss that part out. Or they miss that part. Doing their market research, trying to understand who the customer that you want is. Not the person that's going to use your website or your service at the beginning. There's a customer and a user kind of these terms get bandied around. But what's typical is you'll always get a band of early adopters. With We7, it was a music site. With Spotify, it's the same. It tends to be male, 30 plus, people that sit at home, they're computer savvy, tech savvy, media savvy. And if you're not careful, you can get very insular thinking that that's who your mainstream base is. It's absolutely not. And it comes from this, right at the beginning, you have to know who's going to use this eventually when it's mature. If you can know that, then everything that you do has to be targeted towards that. And you mustn't get swayed by the people who just happen to find you at the beginning and just happen to be using it in certain ways. And maybe really love all the layers of technical sophistication that you're building into something, because that's not where your mass market was. At We7, we probably changed our proposition 4 times in 5 years. And that's a constant education for us, for over-speccing things, because where we sat in the market, which was completely mainstream, less than 1% crossover with the Spotify population, where we sat, we realised that we'd gone way too far in terms of speccing what people wanted. We licensed, we built an on-demand Rolls Royce. You're in the front seat, you can drive, you can pick whatever you want, whenever you want. It's absolutely brilliant. And then what we found is, where we sat in the market, people wanted the Rolls Royce, but they wanted to sit in the back. So we needed to bring lots and lots of features and very simple things, which now get called interactive radio and the kind of features that you're seeing on all other services. But 2 to 3 years ago, we were understanding that that's where people need to be. So you must build a customer-centric organisation, even if there's 4 of you or there's 10 or 12 of you. The worst thing possible is that technology people sit designing things that they think are right for them, because then the tail wags the dog. Now, these words, plan for change, are a little bit contradictory, really. But the main thing is, the main thing with plan for change, like plan for slideshows, is that you must have a fixed system, you must have something in place, you must have some benchmarks that you're aiming at. But all of us that are working in content and technology, and we're making music and these kinds of things, the landscape is changing so fast. You can't be completely reactive. You've got to have a plan. But you've got to be, in business speak, you'll say things like, it's agile, or it's an emergent strategy, which kind of means you make it up as you go along. But know you're going to make it up as you go along, and build room and spec for that. Don't have a product roadmap that goes beyond 12, that's 12 months long and you've got your head in the bunker because that's what you believe is the killer feature that will do it. Because it won't, it will have moved on by then. So inside an organisation, you must build the sensors around you that give you information all the time that help you plan to change and adapt to changes as you go forward. Now this phrase, get the right people on the bus, is from Jim Collins. I don't know if any of you know, Good to Great is a business text that's seen as one of the leading examples of showing the types of behaviour that come in the really high performance companies. Getting the right people on the bus, the other side to that is getting the wrong people off the bus, and also knowing where the bus is going. And you know, these things, these words sound really simple, but for a startup, they're absolutely critical, because when you start off, it's you, and it's your little team around you, and you are the culture. But by the time you get to 9, 10, 12 people, then that's working with a startup now who are extremely worried about the next hire that they make, because they've got a brilliant team, 7 people, they built it as it is, it appeals to their customers, the culture of it is exactly right. But they need something called sales. But they hate calling sales, because that's not cool. They don't want to say anything to do with sales. But actually, they'll think, well, what we need is a brand sponsorship manager, or we need a partnership advocate, or we need a thought leader. Actually, it's sales. How they go forward depends upon them getting revenue from that person. So, you know, getting the right people on the bus is all about thinking about what does the business need, what behaviours will bring that to the business, and then interviewing people for competencies based on those behaviours. And it's a challenge, and it's very, very critical in small organisations, because you get this wrong and companies go down the wrong path very quickly. It's going to stay at 4. It's going to go to 5. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, hey! So there's a theme. But vive la différence, what does that mean? That means, what is it about you that makes you different? You have to know that. There has to be a USP. If we're a music jukebox with 11 million tracks, we're not unique. We can all think of another 5 or 6 that have done that. If you're an artist, yes, you're unique, but then you put your music in the same place as everybody else. So that's not unique. So if you're a service, what you have to think about is, what's the brand, what's the experience, what am I going to talk about, and the way that I talk about every time, in order that somebody understands and recognises that and comes back to me. If that's a USP, that's what it needs to be. There are schools of thought in business where the whole strategic choices that a company makes is based around the difference and the USP. And yet if you ask a lot of tech companies, actually they don't really know what it is, other than an interesting idea that might be a commonplace thing in a year's time. So the difference is all about the heart of the company and the vision and the mission and those kinds of grand words. But it comes down to what makes us special, what makes us unique, and do the people in the company think about that enough? And the final one, is it going to stay at 5, or where's it going to go next? The good one with this is that oh, look at that, it's good on. Okay, well with this one I've cheated and put 5 different themes on there anyway to try and squeeze a little bit more in. But in terms of measurement, it is amazing how many companies don't measure things enough and where they put their measurement. With the internet, data is everywhere, and you can get absolutely buried in it. So there is a skill to knowing what in business speak you would call a KPI or a critical success factor. What's the 3, 4, 5 things that I must keep my eye on in order to know if the business is achieving what it's setting out to achieve or not? And what measurements do I need? Because actually, as a business leader, that's all I want to see. Other people can do all the other stuff. I just want to see those things. Execution is the key between an average company and the companies that stay around for a long time. You don't actually have to be the best idea if you're a brilliant execution. But if you've got an average execution, you won't be saved. So again, organisations talk very good talk, but one of the reasons that 9 out of 10 startups fail within 2 years and 9 out of 10 of the one that survives fail within another 3 years is just to do with execution. Can they execute properly? And to execute properly, often it comes down to this last one, which is money. Now, Ben started off the day talking about money and the priority that must be given to money. And often what you get in startups, especially tech startups, is the leader is running around doing biz dev, doing partnerships, doing tech things, and then thinks, well, in 3 months' time I've got to get some money in. And of course, it comes way down to the line as to whether or not you can keep the lights on or not. So the most important thing is this is an eternal beauty parade, the appeal for money. And somebody in the organisation must be focused on that all the time, because even if you think it's straightforward, it will take 3 or 4 months for money to come through. And you'll suddenly reach a stage where everything will go pear-shaped unless you've taken care of that. Now, at We7, we ended up with 4 venture capitalists. That's, you know, that's a measure of the kind of world that we live in. It's not an ideal situation because each of those 4 have got slightly different ideas on what a brand should do and where the service should go. So getting money always means compromises and always affects people who have come before it. The later investors dilute out the early investors and all these kinds of things, and there's technical measures called liquidity preferences, which kind of means the early ones get stitched up and the later ones share the fruits going forward. And those kinds of politics you will never be able to navigate unless you've built enough time in, which means having somebody focus on this all the time. So, thank you very much.
Well done, everybody.